Hello, my name's Alex Campbell. Today I'm going to be going over some short stories by Nathaniel Hawthorne and doing a literary comparison of his language choices and his writing styles in some of his stories. Nathaniel Hawthorne, as a background, is most famous for writing The Scarlet Letter in 1850. So he was a early to mid 19th century author, and he wrote a lot of stories that were very psychological in nature and made you think as a reader. His contemporaries include people like Edgar Allan Poe, Ralph Waldo Emerson, um, May Alcott, and other authors like that. So he has a distinct writing style that is most common back in the 19th century, which can make it hard to read, but he writes very well. So briefly, I'm going to go over a quick timeline of his literary work. I did his work all the way up to 1850, where he wrote The Scarlet Letter. But as you can see here, I have three stories kind of highlighted from his works. My Kinsman, Major Molyneux, Young Goodman Brown, and Rappaccini's Daughter. I figured this is a good encompassment of his work, and you can see a lot of the patterns and even some of the changes he went through in the 10 years between the first two and Rappaccini's Daughter before he wrote The Scarlet Letter. So I'm going to jump right into it now. The first one I'm going to look at is Young Goodman Brown. So Nathaniel Hawthorne wrote this story in Puritan New England. Young Goodman Brown was the main character of this story. His wife, Faith, was also a part of this story. Basically what happens is Goodman Brown is traveling in the woods to go get firewood to take back to his wife, Faith, to keep them warm, when he meets this sketchy character, kind of symbolic for the devil, and he gets a bad feeling. Goodman Brown gets a bad feeling, and he starts walking back, but he sees this very pious woman coming from his village, and she's like, "Oh, this guy who gave you this, who you met in the woods, he's actually holding a ceremony. You should come join us." And of course, Goodman Brown says, "No, I have a bad feeling about him." She's like, "Okay, well, I'm going to go anyways." What happens is Goodman Brown keeps seeing townsfolk go over and go over. He sees more and more of them, and eventually he hears that Faith, his wife, has gone to this ceremony too. So he goes to the ceremony, and lo and behold, everybody's there, and it is a witchcraft ceremony. So he flees back to his house. The next morning he wakes up, and he can't look at anybody in his town the same way again. So he lives the rest of his life out in fear and denial of having seen this event, and distrusting everybody in his town, including his wife. So not a great story, but a lot of short stories have that emotional connection and that psychological breakdown. So this word map kind of captures all that very, very well, in my opinion. All right. The next one I looked at was My Kinsman, Major Molyneux. Again, a psychological twist of a story. As you can see here, Hawthorne likes to use his main characters' names a lot. So his title, My Kinsman, Major Molyneux, the biggest words in this story, Kinsman, Major, Molyneux. Robin is the main character's name. So again, those main words, the main characters, are often used a lot in Hawthorne's writing. I think he likes to drive home who you're reading about and where they're at in the story. What happens here is Robin comes into an old British town and asks for his kinsman, Major Molyneux. Where is he? I want to find him. Major Molyneux is Robin's uncle. Everybody in town seems to avoid him. Nobody wants to talk to Robin. He feels like this town is weird. And what happens at the end of the story is Major Molyneux is shown to Robin, and he had been tarred and feathered. So Robin had a chance to either join the mob and laugh at Molyneux, his uncle, or to stand with him, and he chose to laugh at him. So again, you can see that kind of illustrated here in the map. Turned, let's see here, shrewd, different stuff like that, where you can see it's friend and stranger on opposite ends of this word map, which is an interesting note. But it's a very good word map for this story, and again, a good story to look at in general. The last story I have is the latest one before the Scarlet Letter, and it's Rappaccini's Daughter. This one's more of a love story, again, twisted. So, common theme, main characters mentioned often. Giovanni is the main character. Rappaccini is a doctor who Giovanni goes to see. Beatrice is the doctor's daughter. Beatrice has this weird affinity with a certain flower in Rappaccini's garden. The flower is poisonous, but Beatrice seems to have no issue with it. However, Beatrice is also found to be poisonous where she touches things and they die. Giovanni falls in love with Beatrice, of course, and Beatrice falls in love with Giovanni. At the end of the story, Rappaccini, because he knows what happened with his daughter Beatrice and how she became this harbinger of death because of this flower, offers her to take a antidote, and Giovanni is to give it to her. Well, Giovanni does, and it ends up killing Beatrice as it was a poison. So, kind of a Romeo and Juliet vibe there, but it's kind of a love story before he gets into the Scarlet Letter, and it's a very good tale. You can see here there's fate, love, sickly, looking through eyes and windows, a lot of imagery there in terms of seeing something beautiful. Garden, big theme in the story. Flowers, again, another big theme. So a very good word map of his writing style, and I thought it was a good illustration of how Hawthorne wrote as an author. So those are my stories I wanted to go over with you. I hope you found them enjoyable. If you get a chance to read the real things, please do, and thank you for your time.